Hello, friends. Welcome back to the next episode of the After Hours Lounge. Really pleased with this episode. He's been on my list for a very long time to talk to, but I sent him a message a few weeks ago, and we've managed to find time. As you guys all know, I'm a very passionate windsurfer. It's what I spent the last 10 years doing, and it's kind of the sport I've kind of built my life around now. So with that in mind, obviously, I like talking to windsurfers. So I'm very pleased to be joined by, I think you are the most decorated Olympic windsurfer of all time. Maybe you can correct me on that. But pleasure to be joined by Olympic medalist for GBR for Great Britain, Mr. Nick Dempsey. Nick, thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure. Yep.
Is that correct? Are you the most decorated overall? You've got three Olympic medals, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah.
So you had a bronze in 2004, a silver in London in 2012. I remember that one, and then a silver in Rio. That's what it was, wasn't it?
Right, correct. No gold.
No gold.
No.
And it was the same guy that beat you the two times you got silver, wasn't it?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Dorian, the Dutch Dorian. Yeah. Born in the wrong time.
Born at the wrong time. No, sure. Well, it's silver's still pretty good, mate. Not many people have it.
Yeah. It's good.
It's still good. So I mean, a lot of the the windsurfers, as I said before we hit record, a lot of the windsurfers, things like that, will be aware of kind of who you are. But can you go through a bit of give us a sort of five-minute history of yourself, how you got into windsurfing, how it all started, and obviously where it is now.
Sure. I started windsurfing 7 years old, much like my own kids, really, and up in Peterborough, the lakes, family sport, family location. And I was lucky to have those people around me to kind of introduce me to it. And then I suppose support me and support those childhood dreams of windsurfing every day. First of all, for pleasure. And then as I got older and a bit more into it, kind of onto the racing stuff, and then eventually onto the Olympic stuff. I then went on to the 5 Olympic Games, starting with Sydney, and then finishing up with Rio, and like you say, bronze in Sydney. No, 16th in Sydney, bronze in Athens, 4th in China, and then the 2 silvers at the last 2. And then that, so at 36 years old, I then retired from racing and had a few things I wanted to do, but naturally the easiest thing and the thing that was that interested me a little bit, not a huge amount, but a little bit, was the coaching.
Right.
And I was lucky to have a few different possibilities there in 2006, end of 2016. And I started coaching the Japanese, and I loved it. And from then on, I've done that. I've continued to do that. This year's been a bit strange, which led me into other things. But for now, I'm kind of there coaching the Japanese, do a little bit of the Hong Kong team, and then I have some little side projects on the go.
Nice. So when you were sort of growing up on windsurfing, I mean, I know that windsurfing kind of feels like sometimes it has these sort of 2 routes, and one route is I'm going to be a sort of surfer dude and wave sailing and freestyle and all that side of it, and then the other side of it is maybe looked at as a bit more regimented, and I'm going down that very much that Olympic route. Was that a route you always wanted to take? Were you always really competitive, or did you kind of just fall into that and that was what you were doing?
I grew up in Peterborough.
So no waves.
It's in the middle of nowhere, and so therefore grew up on the lakes, and there is no option to. Right. I didn't live in Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii, it'd be very different.
Yeah,
but I didn't, and I think once you fell into that RWA system, it was very easy to just to roll with. I wasn't. I mean, I was competitive, but I wasn't hugely driven at a young age. I just windsurf because I love windsurfing.
When did you? This is something I've had quite a few sort of pro sports people on, and this is something that I'm always really interested in. Was there a certain point where you were kind of selected and you were like, holy shit, I'm going to the Olympics? Or was it more of a gradual thing, or was there a bit of a light bulb moment where you were like, oh my God, this is happening, I'm an Olympic sailor?
I think it was probably when I got selected for Sydney. How old would I have been? No, maybe
I'm
selected
sorry.
for the pre-Olympics, which is kind of the trial run for the Olympics. So I'd have been 18 at the time,
Wow.
and very much not. I wasn't meant to be the one that was going, but
Okay.
of course you're 18, so you're full of confidence and you're full of just hunger, and you just want to make it happen. And doing kind of falling in line is not what you do as an 18-year-old. And it was probably then, 18, I kind of dropped out of school and disappeared. I almost finished my A-level stuff, but I just disappeared and went off to Australia, I think it was, for 7 weeks, and then kind of returned a different person
Yeah.
then. From growing up in Peterborough to then getting the opportunity to be in Australia,
Yeah.
cruising
Yeah.
around for 2 months, it was just, that was it. That was, wow. All right, I
Yeah.
can do this. I could do this for a long time. And yeah.
Yeah, I bet. What was because obviously, as you said, you just about finished your A levels. I mean, it must be really different, especially you're at that age where you're still kind of figuring out who you
I,
are as well.
I just about didn't finish my.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Yeah. You're very much like figuring out who you are and all this stuff. And then with something like that, you're almost kind of told who you are, and you're like, no, you're an Olympian. So you're gonna go and do this and this. Did you fall straight in line with that? And you were like, yeah, cool. Or as you said, when you're 18, you don't necessarily follow the rules. Was there
No,
a bit more sort
I
of
was very
freedom?
much I was very much a windsurfer. I wasn't an Olympian,
Okay.
and I wasn't that professional.
Yeah.
I wasn't loose. I wasn't wild. I was very I was very respectful and grateful for everything I was getting, all the support I was getting. But I was not a born athlete, as it
Right.
were. That all came with a bit of a whip, and that was a forced down. That was forced on me, I'd say, and something I struggled with probably is that I wasn't an athlete, and I didn't enjoy the training, and I didn't enjoy getting up early, and I didn't enjoy missing out on all those things, and I did hate that I missed out on university, and it was a big deal at the time. But obviously, look back and go, yeah, okay, I could live without that. But at the time, it wasn't something that came easy.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, that was kind of my next question, because obviously I imagine, even though, as you say, you were a windsurfer rather than an Olympian, I guess it was still a fairly kind of regimented life. It's almost like parallel to everyone else your age, or parallel for a while, and then they suddenly branch off and they're like, right, I'm going to uni and I'm going to parties and I'm doing this, and then you're getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm not sure. It'd be interesting, what kind of physical training you guys were doing. So before we get into the mental stuff, but that must have been quite difficult, especially as a younger guy.
Yeah, it was. It was, but equally, it was also amazing.
Yeah.
The lifestyle I was leading, as a 20-year-old was insane. Okay, you weren't in first class, and you weren't lavishly rich by any means. You were living like a bum, but we went surfing in the morning and we trained in the afternoons for months on end, and that was incredible. Wasn't always the most productive, but it was good fun at the time.
Yeah, I suppose that must be a huge part of it, is actually having, did you have kind of a sort of core group around you guys? I imagine you had the British sailing team, or whatever it was called sort of back then, I guess same thing. But did you have that kind of group of other guys or guys and girls around your sort of age, and you're kind of all sort of traveling together? That must make things a bit easier, at least.
Yeah, it was good. I was always the younger one.
Right.
So, we'd go around with Ben Prophet and Dom, Tidy, and I was always a bit younger, so I'd always get dragged around a bit. They'd be out of control, and I'd always generally be the good one.
Right.
Was kind of to bed early. But yeah, we had a really lovely group of people around us, people that we still know today. And
yeah,
it was, I suppose, a life-forming time, as it were.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it is. You're kind of late teens going into early 20s. It's definitely, well, I mean, I'm 29 now and I'm still trying to figure out who I am. But, because you constantly reinvent yourself and stuff. But that is the real dawning of you actually going, right, well, I'm not a school kid anymore. So what am I going to be instead? So when you're kind of doing that, did you obviously Sydney you didn't sort of make the podium, and then was it Athens 4 years after that? Is that maybe I'm getting
Yeah, so at Sydney, I was pretty disappointed in Sydney, without going into too much. I was really disappointed in Sydney. I was good, but I wasn't very experienced at winning, and I wasn't experienced enough at winning when I wasn't on my game. And really, it's very simple that I go to the Olympic Games, and it was incredible, incredible. As a young person that had never done anything like that before, it just kind of blows your mind. And actually, I think I probably blew up a little bit during the regatta. You're looking for extra things. You're looking to be a bit better here and a bit better there. But actually, all you got to do is you just got to be who you are and do the things you're good at. And I probably didn't do that. I probably tried to be a little bit better than I was. Tried to up my game too much, and just came undone a little bit. And that broke me a little bit, because until that moment, that's all you know. That's the moment you've been dreaming of, kind of getting to the Olympic Games. Then you get to the Olympic Games, and that's a whole lifetime. That's not just a 4-year build-up. That was a lifetime build-up to the Olympics. And then when you fail, it was terrible.
Yeah,
terrible. So Athens 4 years later was quite nice. It was a nice one to do well at. And it was good because it was close. I was 1 point off second and 1 point off fourth.
Wow.
Right in that middle of, okay, I'll take that. That's good.
Yeah. Do you feel like, what happened in Sydney kind of lit a fire in your belly and stuff? I mean, I've, again, spoken to athletes before, and a few of them have kind of said what you've said, and other ones, they kind of try and, well, I guess, do you try and sort of in your head go, right, oh my God, I'm at the Olympics, this is happening, all this. But do you try and go, no, let's contain that and try and keep that cool so that you can focus on the task at hand? Or is that just...
Yeah, for sure, with experience, but not as a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And we, have had all that experience now. You see everyone turn up and blow up, and it's generally the calm, confident heads that do well by the end of the regatta. And the people that are just full of potential and talent generally explode.
Yeah, because often, I mean, it's very, very easy to say, but I guess it'd be interesting to see what your take. But often it's not the people with the most talent, I guess, is it, that kind of get through? Because sometimes, I mean, we've seen it in all the films and stuff, the ones on talent, they just sort of rely on that talent. So they go, no, I'll get up in a couple of hours, or I'll do this. Is that something that you kind of saw and that you see now as a coach as well?
That's the same with everything in life.
Yeah.
I mean, with everything in life, it's the same with school. There are people that will just breeze through school, and there are people that have to work. And it's the same. I find the same in every walk of life. But it only gets you so far. There's an awful lot of very, very talented people in this world, but there's even more hungry, people that are really willing to do whatever it takes. And it's a combination of the two. The potential and the talent is just a small part of it. That gives you opportunities, and sometimes gives you an edge. But really, it's the hard work that just grounds everything, and allows you to repeat things rather than just do things on a one-off. It's kind of being able to do it day in, day out. And achieve on your bad days.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's kind of not just going, oh, I've had a bad day, so I'm gonna. I mean, I attribute this a lot, and I do it a lot, but I'm not a pro athlete. But when on a bad day, it's the people that still get up and go, right, well, I'll rig up and I'll go out for a couple of hours. That I guess are it sounds stupid, it sounds arbitrary to say, but they're the ones that are gonna kind of do the best. So I mean, with that in mind, what did you have to adapt your mindset going into sort of Athens and beyond? Obviously, experience definitely helped, but was there a kind of, did you obviously, and 4 years is a long time. Like how do you fill those 4 years between Olympics? Is it literally just a case of training and windsurfing as much as possible, or?
No, you just have targets. So you just break it down. Of course, if someone says, I'm going to win a gold medal in 4 years' time, well, that's just a statement. That's not a plan. So you have to first understand how you're going to do it and whether it is achievable, because understanding and believing that these things are achievable make them real.
Yeah.
You know, before that, you know, we all sit there and go, oh, I'd love to be rich. Wouldn't it make life easy?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's actually sitting down and working out how that's going to be, how you're going to do it. And it's exactly the same. It's just, you break it down. So for me, you break it down into world championships each year.
Right.
It was also always massively weighted on the world championships because that's where we got our funding from.
Okay.
So if you're top 8 in the world, which is kind of always the target, you have got to be top 8 to survive. I think that gave you, I think at the time, about £1,300 a month,
Right.
which was enough to pay your mortgage and put fuel in your car and buy your groceries. And that, you know, and that's it. And then maybe top 3, you get a bit more, and you could kind of live and actually live a bit nicer, maybe on one holiday a year.
Yeah.
Generally, you're always, you know, you're always running out of money. But those were the targets, always the World Championships. I think after Athens, I think I finished 7th, 8th, 9th, no, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th of the World Championships going into Athens.
Yeah.
Kind of, I knew I was on a really good, steady trajectory and all achievable.
Yeah. That's interesting the way you say it, because I think you're right. Often a lot of people, they just sort of focus on that destination, don't they? They go, you know, whether it is I want to be rich, or I want to be an Olympian, or I want to compete in whatever it is, or even things like losing weight and stuff. People are like, this is what I want to do. I want a 6-pack by summer. But I think often it's more important to go, this is what I want in 3 weeks' time. And then you get there and you go, right, this is what I want in 3 weeks' time. I think sort of those smaller, more actionable goals are far more valuable, and they're far more sustainable as well. I guess, especially for you guys at the largest stage, far more sustainable and keep you a lot more grounded than just sort of focusing on that destination all the time.
Yeah, and you can just, I think being able to, although windsurfing is a really difficult thing to measure and measure progress on, you know, we don't have metrics, as it were. So you have to rely on something. And a lot of the time you just work on those processes. And the fitness was always great because that does have metrics and that is measurable. And you can measure, you know, input compared to output, you know, how much have I put in, what have I done? So that was always good to have. So I always have really good fitness goals because it is nice to be able to achieve things.
Yeah.
So even when you weren't maybe racing so well, or, you know, you weren't going so fast, or you're making bad decisions, you always had something that you were kind of working towards.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get the balance wrong, but that was always a really nice thing to have targeted.
Yeah, definitely. While we're on that sort of physical side of it, then I've heard a lot of rumors in the rumor mill around windsurfing for years. Everyone's always said it. You know, it doesn't get much more authoritative than you on this. Is windsurfing the most physically demanding Olympic sport? Because I've heard a lot of chat of it is, because they've got to be ready to pump around the course in 3 knots and then hold down a 9.5 in 30 knots. All this.
No. I'd never compare myself to the Brownlees or Mo Farah or, you know, the real athletes.
Right.
Sure, we are athletes, or I was an athlete, and you have to be very, very fit.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's not a pure fitness related thing. It is very, very, very difficult, and juggling all the variables is a nightmare. And it's still a nightmare to coach because there's so much going on. But no. You have to be fit. I think my VO2 max was around 70 when I was in good shape.
Yeah.
Around 70, but it wouldn't be there very often. I'm very much a peaker. I wouldn't waste my time training for 4 years. I'd do what's required, have some really nice targets, but I wouldn't sustain that level of fitness for 4 years. I'd always be dropping weight and very fine. I've very, very mastered the peak, as it were. Some people can do it, but not me.
I guess, as you said, windsurfing is one of those sports where it's such a difficult thing to measure. Even in, I'd say, you know, RSX, the windsurfing that you've done is the easiest of windsurfing to measure, but still Like if you're focusing so much on physicality and all that stuff, like someone like a runner, that's all they necessarily need to, maybe they've got to think about keeping a bit of gas in the tank for the end. But windsurfing, there's so much more stuff going on mentally, isn't there? There's tactics and it's conditions dependent as well, so it must be difficult to kind of balance that training out. So I mean, obviously you had physical sort of training, I assume you had coaches, all that stuff. What was the sort of mental side like? Did you going from your sort of earlier days, and then we'll catch up to kind of now, but did you have kind of someone in place to sort of keep you in check mentally?
Yeah, but generally a waste of time.
Right.
It was you just could put this. It's the how do I say it? The sports psychologists are, some of them work really well for some people, and some of them don't fit at all.
Okay.
For me, I used them, but whether it really made a difference, it was more of a life balance thing for me when I spoke to them. It was more of a, I've got all of this going on right now. I can't focus. Just help me prioritize a little bit here. And they kind of just clear your mind a bit and get rid of some of the distractions and what's important and what's not. But in terms of, actual racing mentality, control, all that stuff, that comes from experience, and it comes from experience and your own self coaching.
I think you're right. I think a lot of it does kind of have to come from yourself. But if that was the case, did you find, and even for yourself as you got more experience, did you find some of the other sort of riders that you were on tour, for lack of a better word, the riders, did you find they were kind of helpful, or was it very much everyone's by themselves and no one wants to give the secrets away?
Yeah, the latter. Yeah.
Is it? Oh, really?
Yeah. No one really wants to help each other. No,
that's
one spot for the UK, and it's always been the way.
Right.
In the early days, it was just everyone in it for themselves, and then probably since Athens, it was very much controlled by me. It's great for me. Probably a bit selfish looking back, but all I really cared about was winning, and whatever I could do to facilitate that was done.
Yeah, I suppose it must be difficult though, because once you do get a taste of, you had in Athens, you got your first bronze, you're on the podium at the Olympics, you got an Olympic medal. It must be difficult, after the rush and everything of that, to sort of focus on everything else. I imagine you kind of do become a sort of one-track mind, whether you like it or not.
Well, you just always go back to the default. You wake up in the morning and, it's just, will this help me win a gold medal?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's literally it. Almost down to the, do you want to go for a curry? And you just ask yourself the same question, and it's generally a no.
Yeah. Is that the level you found yourself going to? Like literally something as small as going out for a meal with friends and family or whatever. Is that the level that you kind of went to?
Yeah, because you can't go there and eat.
Yeah.
You have to go there and drink water and have a dry korma with some rice. It varied, but if you were on it, it would, everything is, will this help me win a gold medal?
Yeah.
And if the answer was no, then it was brutal.
Yeah.
It's just.
Did you find that sort of difficult through the years, having to say no to all that stuff? Or again, like I said, were you just that driven that you were like, nah, this, I'm really sorry, this is me, this is what I'm doing, I'm not compromising?
Yeah. I mean, not sorry for much. It was just no.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, because windsurfing, as well as, quite a lot of other sports, it is one of those sports where, regardless of the fact that you're on Team GB or anything like that, you are still just one person. You're not a basketball team or a football team or anything like that. So it's kind of all on you. So I guess you do have to sort of cultivate that sort of attitude. But what was it like sort of after your silver in Rio, when you announced you were retiring? Was that because you wanted to retire, or were you kind of like, I've sort of passed the peak?
No, I was just absolutely done.
Yeah.
I had, you only ever do it for yourself.
Right.
Anyone that ever says they do it for anyone else is lying.
Yeah.
You do it. It's such a selfish, horrible thing to be an athlete. And I don't really like it.
No.
But it is so selfish. You are just everything is about winning.
Yeah.
And for me, by the end, I was absolutely done with the whole lot. I didn't want to do it anymore. I hated it. I didn't hate it, but it was a real drag. It was really hard.
Yeah.
I wanted to do other things in life. I didn't want to have to. I mean, the last 4 years, I had a much better balance in life. But until then, it was very much, it was really harsh.
Yeah.
And quite hard. I've loved retire. I mean, I've loved retiring. I see a lot of friends and athletes that really struggle with stopping. And they lose that drive and they lose that thing that filled their life, and everything is just a bit meaningless and a bit, what am I getting up for? I have no, nothing.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that. I was so happy to stop. I couldn't have been happier retiring. And just really enjoy the sport again. It's been lovely.
Do you think that may have come from, obviously, you're by this point you were very much like you've been in it for 16 years, so you've been doing that. I know you mentioned just before we hit record that you've got kids and stuff. I mean, did you have kids at that point, and were you kind of eyes on the ball and no, fuck off, I'm going to go get a gold medal, but at the same time you're like, actually, I've kind of got these distractions now that are getting louder and louder?
Pretty much. I mean, when they're babies, they're babies, and they are it was hard, but they are just very, very young, and you get home and they don't really miss you. They don't even know you. But as they get older, of course, I just want to be home with them as much as I can, but still just away all the time. So basically they get older, it gets harder leaving them, being away from them all the time. But certainly at the start, what Thomas would have been 3 in London, Oscar was only just born, so they're very, very young. But after that it's been nice after that.
That's it. It's interesting that you say that other Olympians or other athletes that that have kind of struggled with that retirement. I guess it may be, and it's completely different, but I guess it is kind of similar to guys when they kind of leave the army and things as well, where they're kind of used to this way of life, and not necessarily chasing a goal as much as you guys, but they always know what they're doing the next day, all that stuff, and then suddenly that sort of stops.
You're very much looked after in the team.
Right.
I mean, especially Olympics, you don't have to do anything. I mean, you literally wake up, you train, you go to sleep, you don't cook, you don't have to. Someone stretches you. I mean, you literally don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything thinking. All your admin's done. Your flights are booked. Accommodations booked. There's nothing. Something breaks. Generally, there's someone there to fix it. And then you leave, and then you stop all that, of course, and then you're on your own. Which I don't have a problem with. I love stepping away and just going, breathe again. No one to answer to apart from myself. So that was nice, but certainly when you are in that bubble, it is a big family and it's quite all-consuming.
Yeah, it must be a difficult environment as well, because you're with all these other people, and obviously I'm sure you got on with the other guys from other countries or other within the GB squad or all that sort of stuff. But there must just be that little bit of tension all the time of like, I'm gonna beat you tomorrow, or I'm gonna beat you next week or next year or whatever. And there must always be that, because everyone is, I imagine, so sort of highly strung. I mean, what was that environment like for you, sort of mentally? Or again, were you that sort of strongly minded towards your goal that you were like, whatever?
Yeah, no problem.
Really?
Yeah. I had no conflict between being their friend and being their competitor. They were always competitor first.
Right.
And, friend second.
You just went full Terminator mode.
Oh, no. Well, no. Not quite.
Yeah.
I just knew what was important.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you think did you get that same sort of vibe from all the other guys?
No, all very varied. You know, the French would be very determined, very
Yeah.
harsh, very, and the Dutch will be, you know, all flowers and laughter and clowns,
Right.
and, you know, craziness.
Yeah. So it just sort of depended on who was who.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I imagine that. Do you think as well that retiring was made slightly easier for you because you kind of left on a high, didn't you, as well? You know,
Yeah,
was
it probably helped. Probably helped.
yeah,
I was pretty happy. You know, I think I could have won in Rio, but I didn't.
yeah,
I mean, I was beaten by someone that was better than me. If not on the day, he's probably better than me. Full stop.
yeah,
And that's I'm cool with that.
yeah. I
You
was
know?
going to say, is that something that do you kind of as you've gone on, have you sort of kind of started to make peace with that, and or is there still kind of a few sort of regrets there, or
No. I'm not really a regretter.
good? Yeah,
No, it's cool. You know, he's amazing. He's amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. He's the best. He is the best windsurfer racer that there ever was, ever. I mean, by a mile.
Is he still competing?
No, he lost the trials in February
Oh
by
no.
1 point
Oh no. See, that must be a kick.
to Kieran Badlow, Dutch windsurfer. Kieran will probably win. Kieran's by far the best in the world right now.
Right.
I mean, they were first and second at the last 3 World Championships.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so they just bred another one, you know.
Bred another one. Yeah. What are the Dutch
Very
feeding
tasty.
them? What are they
Yeah.
feeding them?
Yeah.
So you obviously now sort of since then, you said you've kind of now moved into that sort of coaching role. As you said before we hit record, it's for the Japanese Olympic team now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's that been like, transitioning from kind of one side of the fence to the other? Is it you said you've sort of really enjoyed and embraced that coaching role, but how's that been for you, sort of changing up that lifestyle?
Yeah, I think lifestyle wise it's been amazing. You know, I have I have more financial stability with it, which is lovely.
Yeah, that was nice.
I still get to travel the world, but without the game face on.
Yeah,
No stress. You know, I can actually smile and say hello to people and be genuine.
Yeah.
I've found it really lovely being in that environment.
Yeah.
And I found it really challenging.
Yeah.
As a profession, you know,
Yeah.
as a role, and as, you know, someone that wants to do their very, very best and be the, you know, I want to give him the best coaching he could possibly get. And that's hard. And it's emotional sometimes.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of good for you because like you said, you've got that fine line of I'm still involved and I'm still doing the Olympic stuff and all that, but I can go for a curry with my friends and I can go and do this. And yeah, you kind of don't necessarily need to do that. And it must be really nice being able to kind of impart all that wisdom and all that experience. Like I coached windsurfing for years as well. And it's a very fulfilling job. Or coaching anything, you know, my girlfriend's a teacher as well. I mean, maybe she's not having a very nice time at the moment, but generally it's a very sort of fulfilling role. And it's great to see people succeed on something you've taught them to do.
Yeah. I suppose that's probably where I've changed most with the coaching is I teach less and less.
Yeah.
And try and kind of facilitate and allow him to breathe a bit and him to lead me.
Yeah.
Rather than me teach him. Because I just found he was relying on me too much.
Right.
You know, Nick, what do you think? Nick, what do you think? Nick, what about this? And of course, that's not sustainable and it's not reliable.
Right.
It all has to come from him. And he really should be coaching himself. In a way.
Yeah.
I just kind of put the right things in his mind.
Yeah.
Help him prioritize and help him understand. Because if you just fire instructions the whole time, he can't. You know, he can't take it all in, and what's good one day is going to be completely different another day. So I think it's changed a lot. My role's changed a lot. But yeah, it's been good. It's been very rewarding.
Yeah, I suppose we always used to say as well, I worked at Club Vast for many years, and once you get to a certain level of windsurfing, the advanced guys or whatever, you stop teaching and you start coaching, and it's two completely different things. And I certainly, for the higher levels that I was teaching, you almost become a soundboard, don't you? People are like, well, I did this and this didn't work, but then I sort of did this and it did work, and you go, yeah, that second one, that one was good, and do that, and it becomes a much more, yeah, sort of particular thing than just broad strokes,
Yeah, it's even less than that. It's more I suppose it's just a bit of a mental. It's my job to not motivate him, but to put the right things in place that he can motivate himself.
Right.
It's my job to feed him things that help him believe in himself.
Yeah.
It's my job to make sure he understands what he's good at and why he's good at it, so that he can unleash it at the right time. Because we all doubt ourselves more than anyone else.
Yeah.
Our biggest doubt is our biggest critics, and he will rip into himself at times. And it's just my job to kind of be there as the steady, solid, someone he trusts and respects, to give him sound advice.
Yeah. So you find you're almost as much of a coach outside of windsurfing as you are, actually when they're on the board. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Is that something that's kind of come through in the last few years? Did you have that kind of figure when you were competing in the Olympics?
Yeah. So I mean, I had two coaches, Barry and Dom. Barry was amazing.
Right.
And tactically, he taught me everything I know tactically, and that's always where I was really strong, was tactically. And he was brilliant at that. Pretty good at the technique stuff. Maybe not so good at some other stuff. And then I changed to having Dom, who was really great at just keeping life balanced.
Right.
And making sure we did the right things and keeping it simple. And I by the time I was working with Dom, I had very much had all my technical stuff, all my tactical stuff was all pretty sound. But what he was great at creating the right environment for me, and just allowing me to be me and allowing me space to breathe, which is what I required. And he was fantastic for kind of making that environment the place where I could really kind of perform.
Is that when you sort of say create the environment for yourself, was that, did you ever find yourself getting a bit sort of overwhelmed with your position? I mean, sort of, do you know what I mean by that?
No.
So did you ever get a bit overwhelmed, even though you had all the experience? Did you ever, when he was creating that environment, was that because you were a bit like, did you have that moment where you're, holy shit, I can't do this, I'm an Olympian, I should be doing this, or was it kind of different?
No, more of more, I wanted a really relaxed environment,
right,
where it wasn't all about this and all about that. It was Barry and I were quite different.
Okay.
He's quite full on.
Yeah.
He's really full on. Amazing, but he's full on, and it's quite stressful at times. And I didn't need that kind of stress.
Yeah.
I wanted time to breathe, and I wanted to kind of do it a bit more on my terms. And I think I was getting older, and I think I wanted to take a bit more control.
Yeah.
Whereas Barry's program was a bit more led by Barry, whereas I wanted total control.
Yeah.
And to do it my way.
That sounds. I get that. That's Dom, the second guy who was coaching you. That sounds fairly similar to the way you're coaching now, of kind of letting the athlete sort of lead the conversation things. Do you think that's something that you've taken into being a coach now?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm always evolving and changing with it. Yeah. I'm learning all the time. Now I'm still reading a lot of coaching books and trying to kind of just understand a little bit more what my role is and how it can be better. Because I certainly went into coaching as a technical expert. So I could tell him exactly how to do this and how to do that. And,
Yeah.
and we progressed really fast, but then we hit this massive plateau
Yeah.
where we now had the speed, we had the technique, we had some of the tactical base, but we didn't have the mind, basically.
Okay.
We didn't have control of his emotions.
Right.
In the way that I wanted him to. And that's been very difficult. Well, one, there's a language barrier, and two, we come from different cultures. So it's been a real test and real challenge. And actually that's our biggest goal moving forward towards Tokyo in the summer is just working on some of those mindset areas and what's really, really important and what's not important.
When you say that, do you mean kind of keeping someone sort of level-headed, keeping them pretty cool despite the fact that they're going to the Olympics and it is coming up to that biggest stage? And it'd be interesting to talk about the fact that the Olympics have been delayed for a year, how that's all worked for you guys. And if anything, I'd feel like that's added more pressure, even though, we've got an extra year to train, but you're like, oh God, we were just about there. And then to have that extended. But I mean, is that the kind of mindset sort of coaching that you've been putting in?
I mean, this year has been let's be honest, it's been a total and utter nightmare.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him since March.
Oh my God.
Everything is done remotely. So, I mean, that is just useless. I mean, it's hopeless pretty much. He hasn't sailed with anyone else since March.
Wow.
He's been sailing on his own in Tokyo in the build up to his Olympic Games on home waters. It has been an absolute test for both of us. But he is incredible. I mean, he's incredible. And we will always go to the default of, okay, we just need to maintain. We need to maintain. We're not moving forward. Our dreams of being able to do this, and this are gone, but they've also gone for everyone else.
Yeah.
And you're still sailing on the Olympic venue every day, which is a massive advantage.
That's
and
cool.
He is fit as a fiddle, and he's Japanese, so he has a work ethic of just
insane,
like nothing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he'll train. He's fitter now than he's ever been in his life, and he's 34, 35 years old.
Right.
And an absolute weapon. And he'll be 71 kilos. He'll be 71 kilos. If I tell him 73, he'll be 73. And so he's still right. He's good.
Yeah.
He doesn't lack motivation. He lacks a bit of happiness and spirit at times because it's brutal what he's doing. But he's all right, and we're just working our way through how we can move on. But right now we're just surviving, keeping our head afloat, and stay where you are. Not panicking.
Yeah.
The Olympics is if it happens, it's almost got to the stage where if it happens, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
Life has thrown it at everyone, and I think if we can just get through this in one piece, if we can get back together again in May and have a 3-month build up to the Olympics, then we can do everything we need to do in 3 months. Okay, we haven't done all the things, but we can do enough.
Yeah, as you said so well, I think at the moment, it's something I've been saying a lot as well. At the moment, no one needs to be trying to succeed at the moment. All we need to be doing is trying to survive. And the way you said it for you guys is maintain, which is such an important thing. And I think too many people are still putting so much pressure on themselves over the last 9 months to a year to keep going and keep pushing up, whether it's a career ladder or anything like that. And I think I just look and I'm like, it's exhausting in normal times, let alone trying to deal with it with everything that's going on.
It's really hard. We're constantly, Hannah and my partner and myself, we're always, what's the right thing to do?
Yeah.
Is the right thing to stay at home and not leave the house like we're told to?
Yeah.
Or is the right thing to be proactive and try and get overseas and try and get training again and try and fulfill those lifelong goals and make things happen? And we're completely torn all the time. When we come around, there is no right answer. We just let's just go with what we believe in, and if we believe that whatever we plan to do is not going to harm anyone or put anyone at risk, then you have to take that decision. But right now, I mean, I'm very much I'm here at home,
Yeah.
waiting for the green light, but and trying to not get wound up that life does involve homes under the hammer, and it's okay to sit
Yeah.
on, to walk, to have your lunch and sit down, the telly on for half an hour. It's okay to go, oh, do you know what? I haven't actually got much on. I'm going to watch another hour of this. This
Yeah.
is quite interesting.
Yeah.
You watch some, who's that professor, the science professor? He came on the TV today doing something on Mars. Bloody interesting.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And normally we never put the TV on in the day.
Yeah.
We found ourselves, no, let's just watch it. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
And it was great. And we're trying to not feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real difficult one right now.
It must be so odd as well. I mean, listeners, there you go. I mean, Olympic medalist Nick Dempsey is watching Homes Under the Hammer, and if he does it, that means you guys are allowed to as well. It is one of those things. But do you? That's such a polar opposite to what you spent nearly 20 years of your life doing. So it must be, to a certain extent, I guess, but at the same time you're busy trying to coach, but you've kind of got that like polarized point where you're like, actually, let's just have a bit of downtime and just sort of stop.
It's been really hard, but I mean, we very much embraced the summer for that. And the kids were off school and we homeschooled, and then we had that incredible summer. And and life was good. And we were like, what, we can take, we are all right. We can take this financial hit.
Yeah.
And then of course it gets to the autumn, and you think, okay, right, everything, we're all right. We're back working again in November, and things are going to be okay. And then that gets cancelled, and then we kind of bumbled away with a few little side projects, and then and the January comes along, and I was meant to go to Hong Kong for 6 weeks.
Right.
And I'd never go away for 6 weeks. But of course, the quarantine, you've got to go there, you've got to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then you've got to work.
Yeah.
And it was great for me, having not worked for so long. I thought, oh, do you know what? I need to work. I need to work mentally and financially. I have to work. And then that's cancelled. And oh my God.
When's it going to end?
When that's the problem. That is the problem. If someone gave me an end date, no problem.
Yeah.
It's just not knowing what to do.
Yeah, it's the worry of the unknown. I mean, I imagine especially for you, because despite all the unknown, you are still building towards a goal. Through who you're coaching, but you're still building towards that goal, even though you're like, are we even going to get a chance to do it?
Wow, our whole life's full of goals.
Yeah. Well, you're right. Off the race course as well. I'm sure you've still got things you want to do, or everyone listening, everyone does. And it does feel like a lot of things have been put on hold. I mean, I turned 30 in August, and I've decided that I'm not going to turn 30. I'm going to be 29 again, because I've not really had a chance to be 29.
Yeah, it's funny time.
Yeah,
it is a funny time. But we just always come back to the we're lucky, we're living with people we love, and we're surrounded by people we love, and there's an awful lot of people that don't have that. So we're in good shape.
Yeah,
it's just challenging.
Definitely. One sort of more thing, Nick, that I just really wanted to touch on before we sort of finish up, was how that sort of, I'm going completely off topic. We're turning left. We're stopping talking about COVID now. But how that conversation around sort of mental health and things has evolved within the Olympics. I mean, obviously, especially, I'm going to talk about COVID again, sorry, but if anything, this last year has only accelerated times 100 the conversation around mental health, which in a way is good, but also it's been so detrimental to so many people's mental health. But for yourself as a pro, Olympian or athlete, how did that sort of mental health conversation start for you in Sydney, to when you sort of finished in Rio, to now as a coach? I mean, has it seen a bit more awareness around it within the Olympics?
Not really.
Really?
No. Oh, it's such a in sport, it's still a
taboo.
It's just doing it because it's politically correct.
Right.
Still very much the line is you man up and you crack on.
Really?
That's like, yeah, that's like in the DNA of sport.
Yeah.
And it will always be like that. And it's not business. It's driven from passion and willingness to just give up all the everything it's sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's just whoever will work hardest and whoever sacrifices most are generally the people that win. You only have to look at the backgrounds of some of the best sportsmen in the world to see that they're, those gritty, determined people often go on to be the best sportsmen that ever lived.
Yeah.
And you, as soon as you mess with that too much, you don't always get the results you really want. You can't. It's brutal. The professional sport is absolutely brutal. And although mental health is huge and definitely has a part to play, it's different to the rest of society.
Yeah.
It is different. And what's difficult is seeing how governing bodies manage it, because you see people come out and say, oh, he's called me fat, and and as a coach to a female athlete, if he's called her fat or he's told she's overweight, well, that's massively that's about performance. And really, that's all that's important.
Yeah.
If these people want to win, and if they don't want to win, then go and do something else.
I guess it's kind of not being, something like that. It's not being said to make fun of someone or offend someone or anything like that. It's being said, by a coach, like you said, purely because it's like it's not, oh, he called me fat. He probably was, you need to drop 3 or 4 kilos in order to make yourself X amount faster so that you can win a gold medal.
Yeah. I mean, you go through your sporting career and you see the people that are there to, they're never going to win, but they're there and they tick all the right boxes and they do this and they do that and they do all the things correctly and they fill out all their forms. And then you get the people that are slightly, off the rails in places, but my God, they have passion, they have drive and they have desire and they have a will to do it no matter what. And those are the people that win. And if you want a high performance sport, that's unfortunately is a bit the way it is. And there's nothing worse than when you're working your tits off and you see the people that are just ticking the right boxes, but and they'll go along and they'll just tick along at average for an entire career, and it's quite difficult to deal with that, because you just think, oh, come on, stop wasting money on those people. I need some new boards, or I need some new fins, or I need some new coaching for this, or this person, and then it's being spread so thin. It was always very difficult watching people just
frustrating.
The average, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think then almost that if there was, I mean, I don't want to say that there shouldn't be support, but do you think if there was a lot more support around mental health and keeping people balanced and all that stuff, potentially you wouldn't get those people who are willing to put in that extra 5-10% over 100 to go, no, I'm going to, sacrifice everything else so that I can win that gold? Do you think that kind of would be hampered by extra mental health and support and people, trying to keep people more balanced?
I don't know.
It's difficult. It's really interesting what you said.
I'm not a mental health expert.
Right.
But, I'm just saying what I've seen.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting.
Tiger Woods is not balanced.
No, he's not at all. Neither is.
It's not balanced.
No.
I know Federer looks balanced. I mean, he's just amazing. He's not. He's just amazing.
He just sleeps, doesn't he? Sleeps 12 hours a night or something, doesn't he? Yeah, that's why he's so chilled.
But yeah, those are. It's just sportsmen are just
like you said. You've got to be so inherently. Selfish is almost the wrong word. I don't, maybe the word driven, but I guess selfish is the word that you should use, but I just don't want to be rude. But, I'm
being honest.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's been amazing that you said the opposite to what I thought you were going to say when I asked you about mental health in the Olympics. I thought it was going to be, oh, they do this now and they do this now. And, they do sort of all sorts for you. So it's quite amazing that you've said that there still necessarily isn't that because there's so much more of a focus on, no, we want you to win,
Yeah, I think it's different for different sports and different teams, but if you just, if you really just were blunt and really looked at it, then the evidence is there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think, often, as you said, you look at the best sportsmen in the world and all of the biggest success stories have come out of the biggest adversity.
Often, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Nick, that is a lovely place to sort of finish up there. Thank you so much for your time. A couple of quick questions just before we go. I always do a couple of things. Where is your happy place? If you click your fingers right now, where are you?
Right here with Hannah stood behind me.
Yeah.
And my kids.
Nice. Yeah. I always think I'm going to get a really superficial answer of, I'd be in Hawaii or I'd be here. But most of the time people say exactly what you've just said, which is actually a really nice part of humanity, I suppose. As you said, I'm a huge movie fan. I'm a bit of a film buff. I really like that. Obviously, we've been stuck in a lot. We've been watching a lot of TV other than Homes Under the Hammer. Sorry. Have you been watching anything? Are you a TV movie guy? What have you been? Hit me with a lockdown recommendation, Nick.
I love TV. We spent a lifetime on the road, so of course Netflix.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Sometimes I have Netflix, Amazon Prime, Now TV, all on the go.
Nice.
Because we run out of stuff to watch.
Yeah.
We watch everything. What are we watching? We love an ITV drama.
Okay.
Or a BBC drama.
BBC drama's good. Have you watched the one about the Salisbury poisonings? That was very good.
Oh yeah, we watched that last year.
Yeah, it came out a while ago, but I caught it quite late. It was a 3-parter, but that was brilliant.
Yeah, that was very good.
That was a good one.
We watch it all. Yeah, no, we watch loads of TV.
Yeah, I bet.
Huh.
The Boys, that's a good one.
The Boys is good.
Yeah, The Boys. Yeah, The Boys is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty outrageous, but it's very, very good. And then finally, sort of finishing up, Nick, who would you like to hear on the podcast? Who shall I talk to next? Have you got any people that you think would be really, really sort of interesting to talk to about, mental health or anything, well-being, all that sort of stuff? Hit me with a recommendation if you've got one.
Well, athlete.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Or just anyone.
Just anyone that you think would be really interesting to talk to.
It always depends on how honest they're going to be.
Noel Gallagher.
Yeah.
If only.
Yeah. I would say I'd love to hear from one of the politicians.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I've asked Boris a couple of times. I'm not going to lie. See what he's going to say.
I'd love to hear from one of the politicians.
Well, just a politician in general would be really, really interesting. Actually, I mean, even one of the younger ones. There's a woman in Scotland called Mary Black that I'd love to have on. She's really outspoken and just calls people out and stuff. So that would be really interesting. Actually, I've not really thought about that. Other than calling out.
I think there's just somebody that said we're clearly watching a lot of the politicians at the moment.
We are
watching them squirm and just never answer a question, and I find it unbelievable. They won't just say it how it is.
Yeah, it's exhausting, isn't it?
It's exhausting. Yeah.
I try, and I think watch more of the boys and watch less of the news, and I think generally we'll be a much happier people, won't we?
Yeah, I do often try and make sure we don't watch the 10 o'clock news before we go to bed.
Oh yeah, certainly. It's like watching the apocalypse. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a great insight into such a kind of mystical world, if you know what I mean, of kind of the Olympics. So it's great to get a look behind the curtain. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed listening to that. Nick, where can we find you on sort of social media or anything like that?
So it's nickdempsey.com. Social media is Instagram is nick.dempsey.pro.
Nick.dempsey.pro. Nice.
I didn't know what else to put. I couldn't put Nick Dempsey, so I had to put something.
Yeah.
I think everything is just on my name. Nick
Out of all the Nick Dempseys out there, I'd say you are probably the most pro. So we'll let you have that one. But yeah, guys, and you can also find me on @the_After_Hours_Lounge on Instagram. I'm on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you can go there. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a review, all that sort of stuff. It massively helps me with the podcast. And yeah, we will see you for the next one. Thanks again, Nick.
Pleasure.
And see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.